Hey everybody, and welcome to episode 65 of the Revive Yourself podcast. Here we go.
Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired? Have you got a health issue that just won't go away no matter what you try? Then welcome to the Revive Yourself podcast, where we reveal the secrets to long-lasting health by getting to the root cause of problems that no one else is talking about. So you can have more energy, clear skin, healthier hair, a leaner physique, more confidence, and most importantly, do the things you love and live the life you deserve. Here's your host, Ryan Martin.
So guys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Revive Yourself podcast. Hope you're all good. Hope you're all well. Been getting some good feedback again. People seem to love the interview with Dr. Sean Baker. Love the sort of guy he is, and we'll be getting him back on the show. So everything's going well. Got lots of good interviews lined up for you as always, and some of the conversations, really just trying to make it a lot more conversational these days, because obviously there's lots of questions I want to ask our guests and get to the root of them. But I think it's really important to understand where these guys are coming from and why they're doing what they're doing, which is a really powerful way of putting across a conversation. And I think today's interview is something where we get into that in a really good level, because we've got Jess and Erin on the show. I know they interviewed me a few weeks ago, but this time I get to interview them. The girls from Your Sacred Witness, they're really good, fun people. They're out there trying to put their message across, trying to put the message of natural health across, like we're all doing. And they've got some real fascinating stories, and we go through the topics, and then we start digging deeper into them, and we get into really good, cool conversation where they start to open up about why they actually got into this industry, into this game, I should say, to start with, and actually how it's progressed and what the underlying root of their issues were, and what they're doing now to combat that, and the struggles they've had. And it's a really refreshing conversation, and this won't be the last time I get to speak to the girls or work with them. They're just great people with a great story, a great message. So without further ado, guys, here is the episode. Enjoy, and I'll see you on the other side. So girls, how are you today?
Hi Ryan.
Hey, Ryan, so the laughs are because we've had a little bit of a hiccup trying to get this started for the joys of modern technology. My Skype's been playing up a little bit, and I've just been waiting to record it. 3, 2, 1, and a few little laughs, which is always a good way to start the show, right?
Absolutely.
So it's nice to get you guys on my show, having conversed for quite a long time, and then having been on your show and talked about things. It's good to get you out to my audience and just to hear your stories, really, because I think people will be interested to see and hear why you guys got into doing what you do, which should be a good story. But just quickly, how's it today? How's the weather over there? Because over here it's been quite nice. I mean, people seem to be really enjoying the spring month, right? Enjoying it?
Yeah, it's a little cloudy and kind of rainy the last few days here, but it's okay because we were in the 90s for a little while, and it got a little too much.
Well, now it's great humidity, though.
Yeah, now it's just really humid in the south.
Humid without the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not good. You don't. If you get the sun, you're like, okay, I'll allow that. But if you get humid without the sun, it's no fun. North Carolina gets pretty hot, right, in the summer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what we're talking? What's the highs?
Anywhere, typically around 95, 96, 97 in the summer.
Yeah. And then 90% humidity.
Uh-huh.
So I'm from a different state. I'm from South Dakota, which is up north. And when I moved down here about 3 years ago, I remember driving around and I saw all these ceiling fans on people's porches. And I thought, like on their front porch, and I thought, that's so cute. But when I got down here, I thought, this is not about being cute at all. This is like, you need it because there's no wind like in the summertime, and the humidity just sticks. So, obviously there's a practical reason for the ceiling, for the fans on the porches. I just thought, what a nice touch. That's so sweet,
Yeah, no, it's one of those like catch-22s with the aircon as well, because health-wise, it's not great. But living-wise, when it's that, I remember once coming back from New Zealand, I stopped off at Singapore for a few days, and I'd just been in Singapore, sorry, I'd just been in New Zealand, which had been their winter months, right? So I had all my winter clothes and stuff. When I got off the plane in Singapore, I was like, oh my God. It was like being hit in the door with heat. Hit in the door, hit in the face with heat. And I had to go to the supermarket and I just literally went there and just changed clothes. I was just like, give me some shorts and a t-shirt. And literally within the seconds, you're just sweating the whole time. You just can't really get away from it, which is you get used to it, I suppose, but it's something that when you haven't been used to it, it takes a little while just to acclimatise to that, right?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm grateful for my mom uniform here in the summer. So t-shirt and cut off jean shorts. It's like minimal. Got to be normally dressed to be able to like be outside at all. So
yeah.
So Jet, you've just got a newborn, right? How old is she? He?
She's 8 months.
8 months, nice. So just sort of coming into, 8 months, yeah. So, summer without sleep, you're looking at not going to be much fun.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because the thing with a baby is like you go through stages, and so once you get used to one stage, you're moving on to the next. And so she actually sleeps now, but my body is so used to like waking up, like I hear everything and she sleeps with me. So basically I wake up all night long while she sleeps. So
right. That's good then. That's really good. so is this your first one? What's her name?
Her name is Mary. I also have a little boy named Silas who is 6.
Okay, Silas 6. And Erin, have you got any children?
Yes, I have 3 actually. I have 3 kids.
Wow.
I have 2 boys and a girl. So
they older or are they similar to Jess's?
One it kind of is. My youngest is. His name is Phineas, and then Ireland is my oldest, and she's 13, and Christian is my 12-year-old. So they were 11 and a half months apart, my 2 oldest ones.
Oh, okay, all right. And the last one's a little surprise. Phineas, a little surprise.
All of them were, actually. Like, you can't plan these things. I don't know.
People try to.
Oh, no. I should say, I'm going to back up. You can plan them, but that's just not how I don't know. Like, it's just.
That's right. It takes the fun out of it. It's spontaneous. That's right. This is what podcasting all about, letting everyone know about your sex life. That's what it's all about.
Right.
No, Phineas, by the way, that's quite an unusual name. It reminds me of, I'm guessing, Phineas Fogg. But
no, well, I knew you were going to say that. No, I had so many people ask me that.
Right.
Oh, did you name him after Phineas and Ferb? But actually, the spelling of his name is Phineas.
Right.
So it's with a PH instead of an F.
Right.
I actually got it out of the Bible.
Okay. Right. Okay.
It's in Numbers, and I just loved the name, and I just loved what he stood for. And I had his name picked out 5 years before he was even born.
Oh, really?
I just loved the name, and so I just knew he was a Phineas. And the nurse, he was a day old, and the nurse came in and she said, "What's his name?" I said, "Phineas," and she said, "He looks like a Phineas." And he really does look like a Phineas. If you imagine a Phineas, that's what he looks like.
Over in America, I know you guys. When it comes to names, you guys just go out there. You're just like, whatever, just make it up as you go along, and you just especially with different syllables. You just trying to think. I think because I have clients or people call me from America or message me. I'm like, or sometimes I'm trying to think someone will mention someone's name and I have to give them a call and it's just spelt very different to what I think it would be spelled. You guys just love trying to confuse us. I think it's part of the fun. But yeah, so you both quite church. You're quite Catholic or religious? No, just got the name from the Bible just one day.
Well, that's a loaded question. I don't know how you want me to answer that, but I used to be very deep in church, in evangelical, Christianity, and I worked at the church that I went to, and I saw a lot of stuff that I didn't like. I started asking questions, and I was told that I had a rebellious heart, and that all of these things that I was told, and finally left the church after I gave a lot of chances because I thought, okay, well, I'm okay. Like maybe it is me. Like maybe part of this is me. So like, let's do some work here. Well, finally, after repeating patterns of this, I was like, this is like emotional and spiritual abuse, really is what it was. Yeah. So we ended up leaving the church. So I did have a period of my life.
How old when you left the church?
I was an adult. I was pregnant.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I was pregnant with my youngest child. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Right, so it took a while. I know these things get very much ingrained. Right? I mean, to be fair, like the religion in general is huge. I have my own thing. I mean, I'm not hugely religious. I'm actually into spirit. You probably know that once you get into this health world, you sort of understand things a bit differently. Some parts of religion are really good, and a lot of it, in my opinion, isn't so good. It has a lot of it, but there are some good things there. It's like I think parts of the world are trying to sort of change now in terms of the bigger picture, in terms of like getting rid of family and tradition and things like that, which I think are big players in a healthy lifestyle. Having that sort of foundation there, rather than, I mean, I don't know if you noticed over. I think over there it might be a bit bigger, especially in the bigger cities like New York and LA. The whole open relationship thing, is that quite big in North Carolina?
No.
We're
what's referred to as the Bible Belt. So things are very conservative here. I mean, I feel like we're in the midst of a shift here, but it's definitely one of the last places that you'll actually see it, like surface level. So
I don't know if you listened to Paul Check on the show, and I'm going to get him back on and talk a little bit about this as well. He just did a really good interview with the guys at Mind Pump about this, and he's talking about it, and he's saying like, there's people that if you can deal with, I couldn't deal with it anyway. My ego is far too fragile for that. I couldn't have anyone sharing a girl with anyone or anything. That's not for me. And also, I think like once you get into health and parasites and stuff, it's something you don't really want to be doing. But in terms of like, it's almost like not growing up and just being a child at the sweet shop the whole time and having no responsibility and just going around sleeping with whoever. And it's like, can you really get any sort of deep level relationship with that? I mean, is there any? Do you know that once you've done that, it's like having sex rather than making love, and these are all the things you need to do to get deeper into sort of like even knowing yourself, right? Because without that foundation, you sort of, it's like almost firing a cannon from a canoe. There's no stable basis there. Does that make sense?
It
Absolutely.
does. I feel like, I mean, honestly, I went through a stage in my life where I was just like crazy. I mean, I was all out there, but I was lost. I was truly lost. I didn't know who I was, and I was seeking something, and I was seeking something outside of myself. And I feel like that's where a lot of that stems from with people.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, well, all of it really is like, when you look at religion, or the funny thing is, blue zones, people always like to talk about what people eat and in blue zones and whatever. I mean, blue zones, there's many factors to them, in terms of not just what they eat, but also like the sun, the air quality they've got there. But the bigger thing all blue zones have is being linked to a bigger purpose. Now, a lot of the scientific people, they say, they poo-poo it, and they say like community and stuff, but it's religion, but it's more of like believing in you're just part of like the equation, which is when you do have communities and you have that sort of love of each other and people helping each other out, and that these are big things, or believing in the bigger picture. I mean, even if it's the universe or whatever it is, it is a big thing. And as you say, people are lost because they'll go and try and do. There's not enough drugs in the world to try and get you out of that. And people get, even if they're doing like things like DMT and doing ashwagandha and things like that. Unless you're going and on the journey and taking a real responsibility with it, people can get lost in this, and they can use it like drugs, like alcohol. They can use it as an escape mechanism because they don't really like what they're doing or the life they're living, rather than actually doing the work, which is what you guys, I'm sure, are doing right now with your Sacred Witness, etc.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think anything can be a distraction, right? Like, I think if we're looking for a way out, we're going to find it. We're going to find what we're looking for. So, I mean, and everyone, it manifests differently. I feel like some people, it's social media, right? It's always like it's on their phone or whatever it is. Some people it's working out all the time, right? Like being obsessed with that. Some people it's work, right? Some people it's sex. Some people it's, you know what I mean? Like everything to distract from themselves. And I really feel like that actually kind of segues actually into what we just started doing, like, just a little bit ago, because you mentioned even before too about like we're just these kids like running around, right? Like without any kind of accountability and no maturity. And we really are, because there's so like, we really are like, that's one of the like pieces of the work that like we've really stepped into recently, is like this inner child like type of healing and wounding. And it sounds woo-woo to a lot of people, but it's like these components within ourselves that whenever there's trauma or anything else, we get disconnected like at that particular age. And so we'll act it out as an adult. So a lot of our adultness is like we're little kids running around. And so whenever we get triggered as, you know, an adult Ryan, right, gets triggered, well, it's like the 5-year-old self of you coming out. You know, it's not you as the adult. It's this child that wants to come out and be witnessed. And so I feel like if we've maybe had like, I don't know, I mean, whatever that is, like, I mean, I'll give you an example. I was talking with a gal one time, and not that long ago, and she has 5-year-old twins. And I love this conversation because this is like an ideal conversation, like with a client or whatever, like it goes perfectly. But it's a good example. So she's got 5-year-old boys, and she has had a really hard time over this last year with dealing with their emotions. And she's like, oh my God, they're just like angry. One throws things and like, you know, they just throw fits, and I don't even know how to handle it. Like, so, you know, she's worried that they're not going to be good people because they're throwing fits at 5 years old. Well, I mean, at 5, you're trying to figure out how to express these emotions, you know, in a way. And so you need a good role model. Well, I finally got to this place where I asked her, I said, what was happening in your life when you were around 5? Like, do you remember anything? And she's like, yeah, my mom died. So her mother died when she was 5. And I said, how did you respond to that situation? And her whole situation, she said, I didn't have permission to grieve. I had to keep it together. And everyone around her was telling her, you're so mature for a 5-year-old. Like, I can't believe, you know, she didn't show any emotion, no, nothing. And I told her, I'm like, that's BS that you're mature for a 5-year-old, because a 5-year-old needs to be expressing their feelings. Like a 5-year-old that is mature is really a shut down 5-year-old. Their emotions are shut down. And so it goes back to now, like her boys are 5, right? So it triggers a place within her, because in our body, these memories never leave. We are storing these memories all the time in our emotions. If we don't allow them to be released, they get stored in our body. So it triggered something within her. And since she never had good role models and knew how to express her emotions around that same age, she had no idea how to work with her boys and work with those emotions, because, you know, she couldn't, she wasn't allowed to. So I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, it's almost like as well, a lot of kids, I wonder who they're mirroring or what they're doing, but it's a huge part. I mean, this is what you were talking a little bit before about how, yeah, like with children running away. I don't know if it was Nietzsche or it might be Young, who said like humans will basically do anything to not have to listen to their soul. You know, one of these things, like trying to distract ourselves to the thing. And this is like, there's nothing wrong with playing, or like as an adult. Sometimes I think as adults we should go and play, but play in a way that's conducive, not running around and just sleeping with whoever, drinking like, or whatever, just buying things you can't afford. That's not play. That's just like irresponsible. But to play with like your child, or to let them be creative and doing things, like, I think it's huge. It's a huge part. It's something that, you know, it's weird. Like if you just go and you walk on the beach, or you're in the sea and you're just mucking around, you get this. It's like complete freedom that you're away from everything, which is really good. Just not just for your body, but for your mind as well. Which is something that, because we're constantly being barraged with so many messages, like I don't think people really understand how much the industry is trying to distract us in terms of not listening to ourselves, and just being constantly. Well, even like I think you saw Jason's post about Facebook, how they're using it like a Pavlov's dog, so they store all your notifications up until you're off the device, and then it comes on. So it's like the bell rings and you press it. Or apparently if you knew the amount of, because we used to talk about brainwashing and talk about like television, like they're telling you a vision or television, and they talk about like make believe. This is what they're doing. They're make believe. They're showing you a life that you think you should live, with people like Amanda from Sex and the City going around and having sex with everyone under the sun, and people going, oh, that's brilliant, but really she's lost. Or like, this is why I'm just, or even whatever it may be, you know, these are things. And if people understood the actual amount of money and programming that goes into our iPhones, I think as Paul Drake said, it'll make you shit the bed. Like, people don't understand that these things are really, really, really bad news. It's really trying to limit them. But I mean, and this is what you guys are doing with with like your series right now, right? You're getting to people out there who. So, because the funny thing is, do you know Michael Tazarian? Have you listened to much of him? Yeah, and I mean, I think he says like it's funny. I don't get people not to. I don't tell people to switch off and to not watch the adverts. I get people to look at them now once you know and laugh at how comical they are in terms of if you're not listening or if you're not aware, they will program you, but. Once you know, you sit there and go, my God. I wanted to do a video about this actually, which was, but I want to do a video about this. It's like, you see like the Coca-Cola advert or the Diet Coke advert or whatever it is, and it's like this beautiful woman drinking this Diet Coke and she's really cool, and it's like, yeah, that's the advert. The reality is, you're unhealthy, you're fat, you stink probably of whatever fags you've been drinking with the Coke, yeah, and it's just like, no, like that's not healthy at all. You're really unhealthy. You're like poison your brain with aspartame and whatever else. It's like it's inverted. I mean, I'm sure you guys have you got anyone on your show talking about anything like that? I think you've got Jason on, haven't you? You've got Jason on.
Yeah, we've had Jason, and he'll be on actually next week on our series. So this coming Wednesday. So that'll be fun.
Yeah, no, and it's just something that I think. I mean, with your one-to-one clients, is this sort of things that you deal with as well, or well, I'm sure it is something you go into quite a lot of them, making them quite aware. I mean, do you find most people quite lost when it comes to this, or not quite unaware?
I think, that's a tough question. I think that I think people are becoming more aware. They're asking more questions, but I think honestly, I think the majority of people have no idea. I really do, and then when they're told, they're like, what? They're in that place of like, I can't believe that. That just sounds so crazy. Like, why would that happen?
When you're drinking fluoridated water and you're eating GMOs, and your pineal gland is completely like calcified, it's kind of hard to see. Like there's totally like these veils, I think, and that's, what is that article that we were looking at the other day? And it was talking about the different veils of illusion. And it really helped like to understand, because I know there are people in my life that, I mean, you just want to shake them. You want to go, why can't you see this? Like, what is going on? Like, but truly, like they are not able to, they don't have the awareness. They're not at that level yet. And maybe they're not meant to be in this lifetime.
Right. Yeah.
To accept.
Well, it's like, Paul Check was talking about it. He's talking about God or like the universe. He said, well, God is everything and everyone, right? So, but I mean, God is the gay person. He is the transsexual. He is the person who doesn't know. He's the person who has that ultimate awareness. He's all these things because, he's everything. So it's like when you're trying to sometimes. I used to, not anymore. I'm just like, it's fine. Like most of my friends and family, they're at a point now they understand that. Oh, this guy does quite a lot of research into this. He actually understands. But when you're talking to them, and if I just watched the things that they watched, I'd 100% have the opinion that they had, because they don't know. And then it's like when they talk about things, I'm like, I can't talk to you about this because you've only listened to this side of the argument. If I showed you everything, it's like even when I say to them, I've done 62 interviews on this myself, without the other hundreds of thousands of hours I've done as well, probably like you guys. So it's sort of like. You can't really, it's really hard. It's like, you don't want to come across as like dismissive or arrogant and say, look, be honest with you, you don't know. So it's really hard for me to talk to you because it's like trying to talk to a child. It's like, who was it? I think it was, you guys know you're the UFC, right? You know the UFC, the Ultimate Fighting Championship? Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's WWE.
No. Ultimate, so this is like mixed martial arts. So anyway, there's a top guy there called like, there's a top guy. He's like a jiu-jitsu guy. He's Gracie, but one of the Gracies, he's like one of the best martial artists in the world. And people. I think he was on Joe Rogan's show, and Joe was like, "Why is it when do you get annoyed that everyone comes up to you and starts trying to fight you and stuff like that, or taking shots at you and digging you out?" And he was like, "No." And Joe was like, "How come?" He's like, "Well." He said, would you get annoyed if a 5-year-old come up and took a punch at you? And he was like, no. He said, that's what I feel like all the time with these people around me. So it doesn't bother me. And that's sort of the point you get to once you know it's like you can't argue. The problem is, unfortunately, is most of these people are the ones that vote or think they're voting for things or that are still buying the crap that's being advertised, and they're the mainstream, and it's unfortunately causing the big issues, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's interesting because my daughter's father is still very much in that space, and so yeah. So the other day,
So you're not together.
Well, we live together. We're in the middle of transitioning right now.
Okay.
So it's an interesting situation, but yes, like the other day, he pulls out this book on the weather and he opens up the book to the page on contrails and wants me to read it. And was really frustrated with me because I just completely was like, I don't have to read that. Like, no matter what this book says, like if you go and research and look who wrote the book, who funded the book, you follow the money, you follow the trail, you're going to see like this is all paid for. They're bought and paid for. So yes, might there be contrails? There may be contrails, but there are also chemtrails.
It's just 100%. When you said that, someone said it for me with study once, and I was like, have you? I clicked on it once. I went, mate, have you looked at who's did it? He's like, no. Who? I went, General Mills. Like, next. Like, just don't come to me. Like, if you can't even do one click of a bit of research, then what chance you got? People read a head. There's a study out there said before, like, someone put a headline up on like a Facebook ad. I think it was or something like that. It was a headline, and all these people had like written these terrible messages, but whatever it was about. And if you click the actual article, there was nothing behind it. And he said like 85% commented without even reading the article, and that's the world we're in right now. You know, he'll believe that. But if I just say to people, it's like people don't believe about vaccine stuff. It's like, go and talk to the mum who saw her child injected and then lose all speech and ability to move and converse and whatever else. Don't come to me with because you say what we're doing is antidotal. It's like, really? How much evidence do you need? Like, have you seen the sky? Like, go and look at the sky. Is that natural? Like, you get it really bad. I'm actually going to be interviewing the lady from Bye Bye Blue Sky. Do you know it? The website.
Oh.
Get her on your show, guys. Bye Bye Blue Sky. And she talks about, I think she's in Canada, and like, because people in certain areas of America, especially Canada, they get massively impacted by it. It's like the chemicals that are dropping down onto their skin. And McCullough's got an article about it, and some of these things you can't get off, and it's causing massive rashes, proper problems with asthma and breathing and things like this. So it's like, what point do you say to someone like your ex-partner, like, go on, tell me, like, what's that then? Just like a myth? Like, what is it? I don't know. It's hard to talk to him.
A contrail does not like spread all the way across the sky and then dissolve and spread out across the sky to form a haze.
I mean, they've even talked. I think they've even admitted doing this, haven't they? I think NASA and things have even admitted doing it. So it's like,
there are websites you can go on if you're having a wedding or a special occasion outside. You can go on and have the weather geoengineered above that space.
Well, you just blow my mind.
Wow, I didn't know that.
What's that called? Do you know?
I'll find it. I don't know right off. I'll find it and send it to you though. After
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, and because people don't even understand about the thing is people like, how can you get into it? Because it makes you really depressed. So there's HAARP and there's things people don't know about HAARP. I'm like, how do you not know about HAARP? Like, but
it's just a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, we're all conspiracy nuts, you know. I've only got like 10 tinfoil hats. I have to go get another one every year. I wear one out every year. But it's like, I just don't. It's the thing is, it's the big illusion where they say like they control you right in front of your eyes, and people don't understand it. But it makes massive. I mean, we haven't needed fuel, for example, since Nikola Tesla. You know, he's had free energy for like 60 years, and it's only the reason we still have petrol and oil because of the money it makes and then the wars, etc. And it's all like a way of keeping us keeping us as like slaves for them. But yeah, I'd love to know that because that's interesting. If you can do that for your wedding, that is like commercial chemtrailing.
Pretty much. They don't say it exactly that way, but yeah, you can pay, and if you have the money, then they will control the weather for you. So
wow.
Nice.
It's super interesting.
I might do it around mine, actually. I might get it in my house.
That's what I realized in this journey, though. Like, I think, and I feel like I've known this from the very beginning, honestly, is that reality is stranger than fiction. It truly is. But
it's so weird how they've made it to the point of, like, if you don't wake up, you just think, oh, that's just why, or like, well, that's just the way it is, you know? And even though things don't make sense, you're like, yeah, but it's just the way it is. I say to people, oh, everyone knows that. Well, yeah. But it doesn't make sense. And so you start looking into it, and then you're like, It's a reason why they don't make sense. And we talk about this all the time. You know, you seem like the nutcase out of all your mates because you're the only one who actually understands. But there, so many of them are so chemically like induced in the world. Even my friends, I've got a really good friendship. I'm really lucky. I think like it's like 20 or 30 of us sometimes, and everyone's gets on really well. There's no bitching. Everyone's got a great relationship with each other as well as the collective. It's so much fun. But the majority of them are in the system, and they used to like think I was nuts, and now they sort of know that what I'm saying is the truth. But they're so in the system, as he says in the Matrix, like they almost fight to protect it, you know, because they don't know anything else.
So that's why it's just Erin and I know.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we've got a community, right? And when we help it, and it's getting bigger and bigger because even some of like the mainstream podcasts out there now, they're digging into it, and the big ones, but it's hard because, you know, this is the funny thing, right? You've got to have. I mean, I want to go into you guys' backgrounds just to follow this because you're gonna have. First of all, I mean, I had 3 months in the city. I hated it. I wanted to kill myself, basically, without saying. I was just like, this is terrible. It's not for me. It was like the money. I don't care. I'd rather like be piss poor broke than do that, you know. So I understand that, but it's not for me. You know, I'd rather be outside if I had to digging ditches, you know. But once I went through my illness and stuff, I got into this, which is just for me. But it's really like to build your own business, one, you know, and knowing like 80% of businesses fail within the first 2 years. Okay, that's quite big. To go out there and actually be an entrepreneur and go out and do it yourself, that's huge. To then also do it against everything the mainstream stands for, you've got to be a bit of a nutcase. But that's great because I love being a nutcase, and it's all good. And it's just like you got to have confidence, you got to have gumption, you got to really believe in what you're doing, right? And when you're talking to you guys and myself, it's like, you know, you really believe in it, and that belief that carries you through because you know that if you keep on doing it, to help people, eventually things will fall into place. And it might take tears and frustration and things and hurdles, but that's all part of the fun, right? The journey is part of the fun. But a lot of people give up before they even start.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because for Erin and I, honestly, this wasn't the original purpose behind our podcast. Initially, we started out with the idea of bringing people on and like featuring people who have had like this hero's journey. You know, people who started out in one place and defeated all against all odds. You know, like persevered and came out on the other side. And we started doing it, and it was like, okay, this feels good, but
something's missing.
Like, and honestly, this is like stuff this is all we talked about when it was her and I together. This was like the focus of all of our conversations. So it was just kind of like,
we totally go down those rabbit holes of like everything. And then another question would come up and be like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. You know, and then we'd go back down, and you know how that happens, you know? And so then,
So one day it was just like, do we want to do this? Like, is this what we're supposed to do? Like, this is really what the conversation is supposed to be about. Like, you know, we need to stop hiding, but, you know, because this is our truth.
Yeah.
And there are other people out there who probably are hiding too because they don't feel like there's a safe place to talk about this.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like we took it on as our mission, as your sacred witness, to just put it out there, no matter what anyone thinks of us or what anyone's opinion is. It's our truth, and I refuse to hide that anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing's going to change unless people stand up and say, this is what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. But and then someone asked me the other day, like, how do we stop this? I was like, well, just stop playing their game. You know, it doesn't matter. Like, as Jordan Peterson said, he's talking about them trying to make him say certain words. He's like, I'll never give up free speech. He's like, I'm not calling. If someone asked me not to call me that, I'd be like, okay, but I'm not, as a law, saying these words. He's like, I don't care. Throw me in jail. I'll go on hunger strike. I don't care, like, and it's one of those things. And no, it's brilliant because a lot of people as well, they're always worrying about other people. I always say, especially, or for some people in our industry might say, well, they've got a podcast out, why should I do it? Or people get like jealous, or they're like, or they say, oh, I can't do that. You know, it's really weird because I always say, like, first of all, if you start worrying about everyone else, you're already onto a loser, you know. Worry about what you're doing and do it and do it yourself. And also, everyone's got a different story, right? And people can resonate with it. That's your audience. So, for example, you know, people resonate with my story. And also, I'm a young male, right? So I still get like a lot of my clients are women, but it actually for someone like me to come out and go through this at a young age, it's for a lot of blokes, it's for men. It's good, like, for them to hear that. I'm just guessing for me, but for you guys as well, you know, two women. that are coming into this, mums, 3 kids, 2 kids, coming out the bubble belt, coming against all this. That's brilliant, people need to hear this story from different angles. So it's not just from like this one. No, it's brilliant though, right? Because it's not just from one side, or just this sort of like this one stereotypical person. When it starts to go across the whole of society, then people will start thinking, okay, and then they've got the message from different angles. And so once again, like the media hitting them from all other angles, and then we start hitting them from all other angles, and you're always going to have an audience because you're always going to have people resonating with you, right? I mean, you must get lots of messages from mums and from women that are trying to help get health sorted out, etc.
Yeah, I just spoke to a holistic moms group last week, actually, about an hour from here, and met her through, I think it was through the podcast or one of our guests in the podcast, and she reached out. And so I think people, and there are people, there's pockets of people around that are having these conversations. But again, I think they're afraid because we're such in the minority that, I just think that we, like, until we get past, you're talking about belief, right? Until you get past all of that and go, you know what, I don't really give a crap. Like, I'm going to do this. I have to speak this out, I mean, but, and I feel the same way about, like, when you were talking about that guy about free speech, like, I'm that way with vaccines, because there's been different times where, like, here, like, the director of the CDC wants to push it, like, mandatory, like, you can't go to school, nothing. There's doctors here that will refuse to see you as a patient if you don't vaccinate. They basically say, I'm not going to see you anymore.
That's not a bad thing. That's
no,
Both of
no, it's not. But the interesting
I know, but I'm only playing, yeah.
Yeah, no. I'm like, you know what? Like, there's been times in my life where I'm like, I want them to try to make me give my child a vaccine. Let's do that. Let's go there. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I'm ready to fight this. Like, I'm not going to be, I would rather, fight this and be like, hell no, you're not going to be, like, I am not going to succumb to this. This is my child, Did
you see the thing about Alfie? Apparently, like, once you sign that birth certificate, then the law, they have rights over your child because, and that's the problem. So like, come to my house, try and give my child a vaccine. Then we'll see what happens. Try and get in my door. But, like, the point is, it's like, I was doing it with Terry, it's like, would I sign I don't know. I'd never send him to the doctor anyway because you don't need to. It's talking like, it's the funny thing about this as well. I mean, you've got people that are, like, I'm not a clever guy, right? I just learn this stuff as I go along. I do a lot of research and it's for passion. I love it. And I've got people out there. I've got one of my friends, and he's coming across to it. He's like an anaesthetist. He's his dad was a top anaesthetist in Europe. He's one of my best friends. He's a really, really clever guy. Like, he breathes at the top of his class in medical, like, serious guy. And, like, learning for him is easy. Like, for me, I'd be like cramming, like, oh my god, and things like that. But obviously, when it's your passion, it's different. But someone like him. He's coming into it. He's actually, funny enough, he's got a girlfriend who's massively into this now, and it's funny because he's a medical doctor. But, like, someone like him, if we could, it's funny how the universe works, right? And now he's asking me questions about his skin and all sorts, and he's such a lovely person as well. Like, and it's funny because he used to be really sort of like skeptical, and he's come across. But if I was saying someone like him, but people like him who are not as open-minded as him, and they're like the cleverest guy. It's like, how can you not look at a vaccine and go, like, doesn't the fact mercury's in it bother you at all, or aluminium, or like antifreeze, or MSG, or carbonic acid? Like, does it not bother you at all, or a live virus, which means that these people, like, there's 100% chance that they're going to get this virus, yeah, and it's like, how many people do you know who get the measles, or how many people do you know that get, like, whooping or whatever? It's like, you've got more chance of getting hit by a car in the road, yeah, or like falling off a ladder, or probably winning the lottery. I don't know about winning the lottery, but you got a lot of like, if you've got a healthy immune system, it's like, what the hell? When are we getting to the point where it's just, these are really clever people, and they're not even asking the really simple questions. Like, they've just been baffled by bullshit. And it's like, it's scary. But and over there and over where you are in America and in Australia, I mean, they're wackadoo when it comes to this. And mandatory vaccines, I just wouldn't be sending my kid to school then. I'd be like, North Carolina's okay, right? I mean, at the moment, I know that LA is getting quite bad for it.
You can get a religious exemption.
Right.
But pretty much that's your only option. And right now there are people who are trying to take that away. Yeah. It's a constant battle. So I know, like, when my daughter isn't vaccinated at all, I actually had a home birth with her, and I was very conflicted about getting a birth certificate for her. I held out for a while. But ultimately, I don't want her to be confined to this country either. I want to be able to get her a passport.
That's the issue, right?
It is the issue. But when we were talking about vaccinations, her father wasn't completely on board with not vaccinating. And I was like, literally, look up how many people die from measles. More people die from bee stings in a year.
Oh, yeah. More people die of the measles vaccine than they have of measles. It's like all the people that had the measles in that outbreak they had in Disney World or wherever it was a few years ago, or Disneyland, they all had the vaccine. They're shedding live viruses. It's like people will say, oh, I wouldn't let my kids play with your kids if they weren't vaccinated. It's like, I wouldn't let my kids play with yours because they've been vaccinated. Like, because they're shedding the science. Yeah, they're shedding this. It's like, you don't think it's like, do you not? This is what cracks me up about it as well. It's like, whenever we talk to people, it's like, what's your job? And they're like, I'm a banker or I do this. It's like, cool. You know, when you're working, I'm studying. You know, it's like when you're doing your 9 to 5, I've got a 24/7, and it's all I do. And I talk to the smartest people in the world that have been affected by it. It's like, without being arrogant or self-righteous or anything, who do you reckon has done? It's like, oh yeah, but these medical. It's like, yeah, but who do they work for? And it's funny because no one's going to go against the people that pay their check. You know, it's like Apple. Steve Jobs didn't let his children play with an iPad.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Why is that? He's not stupid. And it's like these people, he's coming up with these things like these. It's like you really have to dig and you have to look. This is the thing, you know, instant gratification, the way society is now, quick fix. No one wants to do the actual research. Like the difference between our audiences that stay with us and listen to an hour and 45, 2-hour podcast, they're unfortunately they're not the norm. You know, these are people that want to learn and they're going deep. These are not the people that want a 6-second advert, or the people that, you know, even to try and get people to listen to content, you've got to do things now, crazy in and outs on your videos and stuff to try and keep people aware. Or these are the people that want fast food education. They want fast food. You know, this is so. Luckily, I mean, our audience is probably more, it's open-minded, but also well-read around this. So it's trying to. I mean, eventually, I mean, it has to happen. As we talk about the pain teacher, it's funny because these people, like with the vaccines, you know. You see these doctors that back it, and all of a sudden, something happens to their kid. And all of a sudden, they start to do the research, and they finally start to question that authority that he's believed in for years and years and years. And they're the ones that start coming out and whistleblowing, and they're like, well, I believe in this. And even then they get like someone like Andrew Wakefield, who didn't even do it. I mean, the things that people were saying about him, that wasn't even what his study said in the first place. You know, it's like, it's ridiculous. The people who don't even know what he's talking about haven't done the research into it. And it's just, I don't know, did you see that interview that JB Hanley did? I think it was on Fox News. Did you see him?
Mm-mm.
So his child got vaccine injured. He's been looking into it, and he was talking to the people interviewing him, and they were such wankers, for want of a better word. Anyway, because they were just spreading the lie, and he was saying, he was talking about what happened to his child, and the host was like, I'll send you it, and the host was like, oh, I'm really sorry for that. How we feel sorry for you, our sympathies, and he's like, I don't want your sympathy. And the host was like, well, there hasn't been any. It's all good. It's all sorry for this, but it's all anecdotal. There's never been any studies that talk about how vaccines cause autism or damage. And he said, actually, that's not true. They've now done studies with unvaccinated versus vaccinated, and they showed that people are 30 times more likely to get autism with this. And he went into about 2 or 3 different studies. And at the end, they were still saying, well, no, the studies doesn't show that. And he was like, I've just told you about the studies that they've done. And he's like, and it's just like, I showed it to my 2 friends the other day as we went on, as we were in the car, and they were like, and these guys are actually really open-minded actually, but their sort of study coming across it, and they were like, oh my god. And people still will listen to that and think, oh, because they haven't actually listened to what he said, or because they think the news anchor is the authority. The news anchor isn't the authority. You get a parent of a vaccine-injured child, believe me, they will become the authority on that subject. They will do more research than anyone else into what's happening here. And at the end of the day, all they're trying to do is just stop other parents go through that traumatic experience and not have to deal with it, right? I mean,
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. It's such a heated topic, I mean, It's just like, oh my gosh, people are so passionate about it. And it's really out of fear. It's like, the ones that want the vaccines, and I feel for them, but I mean, they're just in that fear paradigm of, oh my gosh, if I don't get this vaccine, my child's going to die, or, I can't believe yours is still alive. They haven't, it's just it's that mentality though. That's that fear, because then it grips moms, especially,
and blind trust as well.
Blind trust. It's that blind obedience. It's like this, we just, it's like this extreme crazy.
I'm gonna, I'm just gonna be out there, and people, if they know me, listen to my show, they know what I'm like. I do what I do out of the good of my heart, and I'm all heart. I just want the best for everyone. But I'm gonna say this because people put this on and they say, "Oh, I'd rather my child get autism than the measles or whatever." It's like, first of all, as we said before, how many people would you know who've got the measles? And second of all, or they're like, "Would you rather your child die than get autism?" And I'm almost like, yeah, I probably would actually. I actually would probably my child die than have to live with a child for the rest of my life that's autistic. I've seen my ex-girlfriend had two children autistic, two brothers and sisters autistic, yeah. From 6:30 a.m. till 9:30 p.m. they would play the same song over and over again. Yeah, you couldn't talk to them. It was like they weren't there. It was like living in a Groundhog Day. That was just a nightmare. And it's like, it's no fun for you. It's no fun for them. Is that what you want your life to be? And no, of course, I don't want anyone to die or to have autism even. But it's one of those things that if I'd rather my child... Have a look at the people in the rates in America of the children that have got autism now compared to what they used to be. You're much more likely to get autism than you are the measles or anything like that. And so it's like, to me, I'm not being harsh here, but yeah, I probably actually would rather my child risk it and get the measles and get through it or whatever than have that potential, that chance to live with that. And that's not me being like, it's not anyone who's listening who's got a child who's autistic, it's not me having a go or anything like that. It's just me saying the chances are so slim, but it's not a fun life. And if you're really honest with yourself, I'm sure you probably believe this, it's terrible. I mean, obviously, sorry, I have to say, obviously there's different spectrums of this, there's different levels, but when we talk about severe autism, it's not fun.
Well, that's actually how a big part of my journey. Well, I mean, my journey started way back, but this was just another level in the journey. It was after I had my son. I was so conflicted. I did tons of research about, about whether I should vaccinate him. And I decided I wasn't going to. I started reaching out to pediatricians because at that point I was planning on, home births in North Carolina are legal, but you can't have an attending midwife. That's illegal.
Oh, really? So that's really strange.
It's by design, right?
Right, yeah, of course, yeah.
So basically at that point, the home birth wasn't an option for me. This last time I was like, screw it, I'm doing this my way. But the first time I had to give birth in a hospital. And so with that, you have to have a pediatrician. And so I reached out and there was not a single pediatrician who would take me if I didn't vaccinate my child. So literally. And so it was like I was strong armed. And then between them and my family going, oh, just trust your doctor, trust your doctors, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, so against my gut, I trusted, and that's what I did. I didn't let them, vaccinate the first day, because they want to give them that hepatitis vaccine the day they're born.
Vitamin K.
And the vitamin K, and then the circumcision, all that stuff. So
circumcision is a big one for you guys as well, right?
It is.
Is his son circumcised?
He is. And
yours, Erin? Is yours circumcised? Yeah.
I struggled with that one. And ultimately his dad is circumcised. And so he said, well, I don't want him to ask questions. He might as well have him like me. Right. So
I don't, as an uncircumcised male, I would have, there's no, people talk, so I was talking to Jason about this as well. I was talking, it's like people say, oh, it's cleaner. It's like, no, if you're a filthy bastard, you're filthy anyway. It doesn't matter, it is. If you're unclean, you're unclean. It doesn't take much to pull back some skin and use some soap. It's the same anyway, yeah. I'm being brutally honest here. It's just the way it is. I don't care, and there's a reason we have a foreskin. Same reason an animal has a foreskin, right? And as I said, and Jason goes into the depths behind this, it's what they did to the slaves in Egypt, and obviously it takes away lots of nerve endings and sensor. And also, I've done a lot of research into this, and I've heard lots of women say it's actually quite painful to have sex with a circumcised male compared to an uncircumcised male. just really strange. But it's weird, like that's such a big. It's not that big over here. Religious reasons, yeah, but in America, it's a big thing. The circumcised thing, right? Like,
I would say 99% of.
Aren't men like shamed into doing it a lot of the time as well?
Probably.
Yeah. Well, it's such a norm. And had I known what I know now, I wouldn't have done that. But I didn't know at the time.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Is your husband circumcised?
Yeah. He's.
So
we're not anymore, but yeah.
Oh, okay. But sorry, I'm just trying to get to the thing because, like, as a male, if I was over there, and so I've actually got I've got a wedding in Canada in the summer, and we're going to Vancouver, and then we're heading to LA for a few days. And so if I met an American girl, for example, and we started dating, and it got down to us having sex, and I wasn't circumcised, would she be really shocked? Would it be like, oh my God, what is this?
Maybe.
No. I don't think so, honestly.
It's not that big a deal then. It's not like
my first intimate relationship was with a man who wasn't circumcised. Okay. So I've experienced, but of all the men that I've been with, in relationship with, he was the only one. So
really? Yeah.
I will say, and I'm 40 years old. So one relationship in my entire life.
I think it's definitely like, it's not, I would say it's just not the norm here, that's what I would say. So I think it just depends on the female too, right?
Yeah.
Like,
no, I'm just wondering how much of like a social stigma it is out there in terms of like, because over here I think it's like whatever, but I know over there it's quite a big thing. In fact, yeah, it's one of I know America. I mean, America's vast, right? And so it obviously the states. I mean, we fit into California 5 times. That's how big California is, let alone the rest of America. So obviously you're going to have quite a lot of diverse opinions about things. But I'm just wondering because I remember it's come up quite a lot, and there is like anti-circumcision groups I've seen on Facebook, and it's sort of a movement that's getting more and more traction.
Yes, I would agree. I think it's been getting more traction, even over just the past, I would say even past 10 years that I've been a little bit more aware of it. I mean, even way more just the last few years that I've seen more and more and more, really being really talked about. So, which is good. I mean, it needs to be talked about because it's definitely not, it's just kind of expected, I think, here, like when you go to your doctor or whatever, it's just kind of like a given.
My desire is for people to really like get to the point. Like I honestly don't need all these statistics. I don't need all these studies. I don't need all this stuff to understand that like we are divinely designed. Yeah. Our bodies, we weren't born like with imperfections. We weren't born like incomplete, right? We were born with everything that we ever need, plus a lot that we don't even know that we have, that we're capable of doing. So that it's like just this innate knowing, like I don't even need to get into the studies. I don't need, because I have this knowing within me.
We're always study of one as well. It's what cracks me up. People say the studies, like, I don't care what the studies say, because when I do it, I feel really good, or when I'm like this, it's like, we're always study of one. And so it doesn't matter. It's weird. I don't know if it's my video I did a minute ago. As you said, we're not born without anything. I've had this. I mean, it's happened for like years, but especially the last couple of weeks, I've had lots of people coming to me with like gut issues, different issues, and saying that the surgeons want to cut things out. I'm like, you haven't been born with too many organs. That's not the problem. That's not the reason why you're sick. The reason you're sick is because of your lifestyle, the inflammation, etc., etc., etc. And they're saying if you don't cut it out, you're going to have in fact, she had part of one of the women I'm talking about, clients, she's only young. They cut half of her stomach out, which is better for about 18 months, and now it's all come back. And now they're saying you've got to take these steroids and you've got to have a further operation. I'm like, that's not the problem. We need to get to the root of it. And as you said, like we've got, I mean, it's weird, right? You don't see, it's so strange. Like we're the only ones above nature. We know more. You don't see like animals go around deforming themselves, do you? To make themselves. It's so how strange is it though? Huh? You know what I mean? You don't see it. You don't see them like, oh yeah, we're gonna just like cut this off or chop that off. It's like what? The reason they're born with it is for a reason. And yeah, as you said, I mean, because so 8 months old, you've been through this quite recently, Jess, with your boy. With your boy, so that was that a struggle? Was that struggle with like the circumcision or with the vaccines or?
All of it was a struggle. I mean, it crushed my heart, number one, to do the circumcision. It's just one of those things, and Jason talks about this a lot, about, basically like the hardening up of mothers and like taking away their ability to truly care for their children. That was really difficult. But, with the vaccinations, like I said, I ended up going against my gut. And after his second vaccination at just a couple months old, he came down with a fever that didn't go away for almost 2 years.
Okay.
And within that time, it literally, I vaccinated him. It was actually almost 3 years, but I vaccinated him up to 18 months. And like within those last couple of vaccinations and at the 18-month mark, like I thought I had completely lost him. Like he went from being this sweet, like interactive child to completely shutting down. Like he didn't want to be hugged. He didn't want to be touched. He didn't want any affection. He was just like on this like tangent, like rampage, like pretty much all the time. Just like his emotions, his body was out of control. It was almost like I literally for like a long time thought I had lost my child. It was terrifying. And so that's when I dove into the research, stopped vaccinating immediately, changed his diet, did everything I could, put him on probiotics, gave him a detox, did everything I could. And within a year, it took almost a year from his last vaccinations, he was finally back to where he should be, somewhere close. He still had some delays.
Thank God for that. I thought you were going to say,
delays and things like that. But he interacted. I could hug him. I could give him love and him accept that. But there was a point there that he was just like not having it. And it was like, I truly thought I'd lost him. It was very.
Would you thought he was autistic? Did you think he was gone?
Oh, he was totally somewhere on the spectrum. Yes.
Really? Okay. So this is because there's lots of research into this. Do you guys know Donna Gates? Body ecology. It's so weird. This is Donna Gates is phenomenal, right? She's one of the people I got into research with her, and she's a bit like Paul Chek. She's under the radar, but who knows her? She's got a big following, but not many people know her. Like in terms of, she's phenomenal. All about gut health. Her and Dr. Campbell McBride. You know Campbell McBride? She's a doctor. She's a Russian, but she's over in Cambridge here, and talk about gut health and about how autism is actually infection of the gut and the brain's connection. And they do lots of work and they change diets and they've cured. And I interviewed Karen Thomas, who cured her son of autism through this. And when I put that interview out, I had so many angry people telling me that this isn't true. I shouldn't be putting this out. You're a disgrace. I'm like, I'm going to speak the truth. I'm going to speak the truth.
I have family members who watch this entire process and still to this day will make fun of me for our dietary choices and our lifestyle and still be in denial about what we
went through. I'll just be like that. Do what you do.
Yeah.
Because
exactly. Diet Coke and yeah.
Well, this is the thing is that when you talk about autism and stuff, you know how the gut affects it. And most of these autistic children, they only eat what they eat. So, I mean, going back to the experience I know of my ex-girlfriend and their family, they'd be having cereal in the morning with pasteurised, homogenised milk, and they'd be having a sandwich at lunch and a pizza in the evening or pasta, and it was just like phosphate, gluten, wheat, toxins, and it was just like, and have you watched The Magic Pill? Yeah,
no.
The film out. I think it's a Magic Pill. It's a new one on Netflix. Watch it. How they cured this child of autism through like ketogenic diet and dietary stuff, and people say, well, my child won't do that. He won't eat it. He won't eat it. They don't eat this. It's like, give me your child for 2 weeks. They live with me. He'll eat it. Trust me. He'll get to the point when if that's the only thing that's on the offer, that's what they'll eat. And if you do that, and you try, it's going to be hard. It's only hard if you start off that way, where unfortunately people are like treating their children like they're a dominant force in the house. Like the child gets what he wants. If they scream and shout enough, he gets what he wants. No. This is. Only reason I know this because my mum was. She's like the goddess at this, yeah. She has my niece and stuff, and 2 nieces, and they might. To be fair, they're phenomenal. They're really good girls. But if they're put up with someone else, they will not. One look from my mum, boom. And I was the same. She'd say stuff to me, and that would be it, And it would be like you'd eat, and because she ruled the roost, and that's how it is. Now, a lot of times, clients and stuff, they say like, it seems like their kids rule the roost, and like they dictate what people eat, and it's like. Once you say no, that I'm in charge of the household, you're the king, you're the queen, and this is what's on the offer. If you don't want to read it, okay, you won't eat. And trust me, they'll eat.
You should see how skinny my son is now because we're having this battle now.
No, honestly, I mean, I did it when I was young.
Not eating junk food at every meal. I'm just not going to do that. Like, this is what we have, and if you don't want to eat, then
And you don't eat. Yeah.
So he's been choosing lately to not eat. So it's really funny. But
That's fair enough. Get him a nice fast.
Yeah.
But I had it. I'm not eating that when I was younger. Mum always made cooked meals and stuff. And you will it will eventually. And that's what this film showed. Yeah, but this was done with an autistic child, and so they're really bad when it comes to only eating what they eat, and they know what they like what they know, sort of thing. So I mean, it can be done. You just got to be very disciplined. And I'm not saying it's easy. It's simple. People say this all the time. Are you saying it's easy? No. I'm saying it's simple. I'm not saying it's easy, because obviously it's not easy. You've got to be disciplined. You've got to actually want to do it. This is what it comes down to all the time, right? If we didn't have a passion for this, there's a lot of entrepreneurs, they make a lot of money, they sell their company because they're not. But with things like this, once you get into it, you really enjoy it. It becomes a lifestyle. It becomes who you are. If you've got a why behind it, or you've actually got a passion behind it, that's the other thing that a lot of people say, or talk about earlier, people getting lost, because they've got no passion. They've got no reason to get up apart from to make the money, which is really shallow, right? If you're not enjoying your day to day, what fun's that?
Yeah.
Is it something you have to work on with your clients?
What's that?
Is it something you have to work on with your clients, like getting them to understand?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's just letting them and allowing them to understand that they do truly have control. They're just giving it away. They're giving their power away in their life on every level. And so then we just go through the motions, they go just to do this, and this, instead of just really being intentional really about their existence. I mean, it really comes back to being intentional. It's like waking up going, what am I doing today? How much am I, taking in, and how much am I how much am I consuming, but how much am I giving back as well too, right? Because I think it's a balance. And a lot of times when we're just in this 9-to-5 rat race and doing all this stuff, we're just in consumer mode. That's all we are. Because we just want to make money. We just want to watch TV. We want to be distracted. So we get our wine or our beer, and we go to the soccer game with the kids and all these things. But we're just all in this consumer mode. But we're not really stopping to say, what am I contributing here to the world, to my community, to society, on a higher level? And so I think it's just being intentional. I don't know if I answered the question, but
yeah, no, of course. It's what I do with my clients. It's we do a lot of mental emotional work, and we do a lot of the work behind it, even relationship audits. Because lots of things, as you said before, it's hard, especially in today's world where it's so easy to go and get another relationship where you are. I don't think people understand the longevity. Obviously, talking to two women here that have, are you both single now? Or are you with someone, Erin? You're both single, yeah. So it's hard, right? And you want to, because you're strong women, you want to, obviously when you bring up you want your child to understand this is no one starts off wanting a broken family, right? That's not what happens at all. But when you get down this rabbit hole, and as you said, as Jess said about the argument she had with her husband, it's hard. Ex-husband, ex-partner. It's hard if you get into this sort of life midway through a relationship, and you're going left and they're going right, and it's and then you've got the kids in between. That's a hard thing to go through, right?
Yeah,
it's a really hard thing, and when you want that, you're there, but there's so much shifting, and one person's resisting it all, right, and doesn't want to go with you. It's and then I mean, I think that can be somewhat maybe livable, but then sometimes there's toxic things that happen within it as well too, especially alcohol or whatnot, I stopped drinking completely about a year ago, completely. And I knew I just couldn't have it in my life.
Why was that? Did you struggle with alcohol?
I did. I knew that I could have definitely had an issue for sure.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so I knew I've got to get to this point where I'm done. I actually wrote a chapter in a book that came out last October about all of this. And it's really raw, and it's just really what I had to go through to get to my place in my life. Talk
about that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, it was a tough time. I mean, it was just a lot of years just distracting, just from life, like we've talked about, with different ways. And alcohol is just a distraction. And, when things aren't good in your life and you're trying to make things better, but nothing just seems, I don't know, it's just, you just get in this guilt and shame cycle. And there were so many times that I'm all right, I'm done, whatever. And I just go right back into it. It's that habit, that behavior that you just go back into.
But what in particular was you distracting yourself from? Was it a job, relationship?
Relationship. Yeah. That was a big thing. Just relationship and true passion. Really, who was I? You know what I mean? Who am I? And what am I really truly doing? I mean, I was doing some really great stuff and I was making good money and all these things, but I was like, not like really when I got to it, I was doing it for everything outside of myself, but not really like for me. So when I had to get back into it, and so it was easy just to distract and drink some wine, you know, and I always started out with white wine and then to the red because it's classier that way, you know? So I'm joking, but like wine has gotten to be such this like, you know, like this, it's classier to like have as a mom, right? Like this is a perception. It's classier to have a glass of wine in your hand than a can of Bud Light or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the trap. It is. It is. That's
No,
the trap.
it is. I think like even Jason put a video on that the other day, didn't he? He put a video about that. Yeah.
It's so true. And so you get caught up in that, especially like there was a good year there that I was in suburbia. And I don't know if that's a term that over there they use.
Like suburbs, So yeah.
It was horrendous. Like everything was beige. Like everything was beige. And I'm like, I need some color. Anyway, it was just, so I went through this phase and I was numbing out from what I knew I had to face. And that was, you know, just myself really was the biggest thing I had to face. But then like through that, it was like my relationship, you know, my marriage, just everything I was doing in my life. And so I had to make some major shifts and they were very dramatic, but
so instead of fronting them up and making them and moving on, the alcohol allowed you to just keep on sort of like going through treacle sort of thing, keep on living. It was sort of like, it numbed. It was self-medication.
Totally. I mean, it was a way to just escape, like, you know, not have to deal with anything. And, but then, you know, the hard thing is then when you feel like...
I was going to say, how did you come to the realization it was a problem?
Because I was tired of just feeling like shit. I was tired of shaming myself. I was tired of just not feeling good. Like, I mean, I was just tired of not feeling good. And I knew deep down like that I was supposed to be doing more than what I was doing. And I knew that. So the pain had to get greater than really what I knew had to change, you know, because it was miserable. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. Like, I just can't do this. And so I just started, what I did though, was because I knew I had to replace it with something or bring in this awareness. So I started my spiritual growth before this. This was just that kind of thorn in my side that I was just like, this is the one thing that I need to like let go of. Mm-hmm. And so, so this was a year ago that, you know, I was just like, done.
Well, you just cut it off straight away. It wasn't gradual, just cut it straight away.
I just cut
it
out.
Was that
hard? Honestly, no, it really wasn't, because my decision for it like was so strong that I just knew. And I had been practicing more like just what does it mean to truly love me? And so I knew that what I had to do was I took my kids on a 6.5-week road trip last summer, and it was awesome. Like, so I journaled the whole time. I made a commitment to myself that every single day I was going to journal. And so I did that. And every single day I was going to move, and then I was going to eat, like, you know, I mean, it was just a change of like all these different things that I made it a commitment to. And that's what I did. And so journaling, honestly, I tell people it was my medicine, like through the summer and through the trip. And because that's when I separated too from my husband. So, I mean, it was a lot of life changing.
Was that hard, or was that sort of done already? Was it hard?
Yeah, it was hard. It was harder, honestly, to get up to the point where I finally had to just be like, we're done. Mm-hmm. That was, I think, more painful, like living in a situation where you know you're not being authentic with yourself, or with that person either, you know, or with your kids, you know. It was just like, it's an integrity issue at some point where you're like, okay, this can't go on. So,
was it like a weight lifted off once it was done?
It was, but there's layers though too. So what I've noticed over the last year, like when different things happen, you know, like when I found out, like, you know, like he was dating, like I was like, you know, it was just all these layers, but I had to work through it. But that's the beautiful thing. Like before, I would have been like, I'm going to get a bottle of wine, you know, like now it's like, you know, now it's like, okay, I need to sit with this. Like I need to really feel this
that's
you know, and that's what heals. That's what healed me through everything. So
I think that's a very powerful thing you just said there. Like you need to sit with it a bit rather than just going out and hitting the going out and whatever it may be that you use to self-medicate, like to try and numb yourself from it, actually feeling it. I've got a friend who's going through a breakup right now, and she's like, does it get better? Does it get better? It's like, of course it does, but you have to go through this period, this healing period, and allow you to, because, you know, I said what goes up must come down, and you have to go through it, and it does get better. It takes time, but without feeling it, it'll either come out now, or you can leave it there and it'll come out later, or it won't come out, and you'll have destructive relationships because you're never really getting through what happened, right? It's like my best friend died when he was 18. I talk about it I talk about him like he was here, because if I didn't and I shut it off, I think it would be something that would eat me up. Whereas like talking about him, talking about what happened, etc., and people are like, no, and I'm open with it, like it is what it is. Whereas I think that's the decision I made a while ago, especially about telling my story and stuff, because I think it's like one it's hugely therapeutic for you, but two, it also like gives you strength, because what's out there no one can hurt you with, and it's all out there. And also, this allows you to sort of. So once you start doing that, it's huge, because it's like people can only hurt you with stuff that is like your secret and stuff like that. Or that's why I like asking those questions to you. Like people hearing that are going like, well, she's done it, maybe I can do it, you know. And it's the same with Jess, with your relationship with your husband. Was that, or with your partner? You say it's ended. Was that like a long-term thing, or was that like quite?
Well, it's interesting. My marriage, I left my husband in, let's see, what year is it? It's 2018. So I moved out in August of 2016. That's when I left my husband. I knew for a long time I had to go. My story is very similar to Erin's. A lot of numbing and a lot of just.
What did you use? Was it alcohol as well or not?
Yeah. I was that mom, like, get the kid to bed, go sit on my front porch with a bottle of wine, like, drink myself to sleep. And that's what I did for many nights. But it just, I wasn't living an authentic life all the way around. I would have to say that my entire life has been based on living someone else's journey up until the last few years. I just didn't know who I was. My life has been interesting, to say the least. Like I said, truth is stranger than fiction. So I suppressed a lot of pieces of myself for a very long time. Like when I was young, I was known as the Queen of Weird. That's what my friends called me. I mean, my life has been like, I've always been surrounded by spirits, aliens.
Really?
So,
what, actual, or is this it? Or is it mean spirit? Are you quite a spiritual person? Are you,
imagine it.
Well, so you did imagine. You didn't. So
I was not. No, they were not in my imagination.
Oh, okay. So you see spirits? Is this something you do?
Yes.
Oh, awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I really tried to suppress those pieces of myself because they weren't accepted. So I just went on this, basically, you know, I experienced some very traumatic abuse as a child as well. And so I numbed out for many years of my life. Like I was really into drugs for many.
What sort of abuse?
I was sexually abused.
Really?
And grew up in my father was very mentally abusive. And it was more directed towards my brother. I ended up being the pleaser in the household to try to keep peace.
Really? Okay.
So yeah, it was just a really fucked up situation all the way around. Excuse my language.
No, that's fine.
And so I learned from a very young age to give my power away.
Really? Okay.
And so that's been, so coming full circle, back up to my marriage, I got to a place where I realized, like, if I stay in this, I'm going to die, because it is truly killing me. I am dying on the inside every single day. It happened the way it was supposed to, all of it. I'm a firm believer in, you know, the things we experience make us who we are. And I had to be on this journey to come to where I am right now. But yeah, I had to get out of that marriage. And the father of my baby now, of Mary, the newest, he was someone I was in a relationship with before my ex-husband. Okay. And for some reason, he just started coming into my head. And so I rekindled a relationship with him. And we realized that this was not the path that we were supposed to be on. And we actually had breakup sex. And in the breakup sex, I got pregnant. And so, yeah. So Mary was born in September. My divorce was officially final in January. And now I'm, in the process of ending, we're ending this relationship. So it's like, I think I was just clearing out a bunch of stuff that needed to be cleared out.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And in your, I don't know what your guys' feelings is abortion in your sort of world not something that you look into? I know it's quite a big thing in America, like the abortion, anti-abortion is quite a big political debate. You ever think about that? Was it ever an option for you?
It was not. It was not. I'm a firm believer in that, that things happen. I mean, the way they're supposed to, and that she was supposed to be here. Like I said, I mean, we had been having unprotected sex, for a while, and literally the sex that we had when we were breaking up, she was conceived. And so to me, that meant she was supposed to be here. It was literally like
destined for big things.
Yeah. And, I don't know if you're into any type of astrology or anything like that, but I actually had a Vedic report done, and she was in my report, in my birth chart. So
I do, but I actually speak to I'm going to try and get her on the show. She's going through a few issues herself, but I speak to a medium myself, and she's phenomenal. And this is something that back in the day I would have been like, this is woo-woo, this is crazy. But actually, no, I wouldn't have been, actually, because when I was younger, I'm going to talk to you about this, I actually saw a ghost in my old house. I was coming down the stairs, and I saw this lady in the mirror brushing her hair, and I was like, what the hell? I come down, look back, and she was gone. And I come down the stairs, I said to my mum, I was like, Mum, have you ever seen anything like in the hallway? She's like, what do you mean? I said, I thought I'd have seen like a lady brushing her hair in the mirror. And she was like, yeah, I saw her. I've seen her a few times. I just didn't want to tell you about it. And I was like, whoa, okay. And then actually, my mum just saw something about a month ago in this house, that's cool. It's not a problem. People think of like ghosts as being bad and stuff, but I know that all spirits. But when I speak to Lorraine, she never met me. She'd never seen anything on me on Facebook. She literally was on the phone to me, and she was talking about things that I was just like, oh my God. And every person I've actually introduced to her, she's phenomenal. And it's just funny because people say it's woo-woo and stuff, but then they don't, because people do sort of believe in this sort of stuff. They believe it's like the soul and the spirits, and it's just energy. You start talking about spirits and fiction, but you talk about energy, people understand, energy, and it's like it's an easier way for them to grasp it. She was telling me about things, so that's interesting. So you've always been into that sort of gone. When was that? Do you do readings, or is it just something for you?
No, I don't have any control over who I see. I just, from the time I was very small, like everywhere I've ever lived, there's been spirits there, and at some point they show themselves.
In what? So I'm going to say, like, first of all, good and bad, and second of all, in what sort of way show themselves? Has it been like? Has it been like a noise? Has it actually been seeing them physically, like with outlines in their eyes?
Both. Like there was a little boy in the house that I grew up in. And there was also another spirit there that I'm not really sure who seemed, I guess if you want to label it, it seemed very dark. And I think it was something that was actually like attached to my father, honestly, because I feel like our vibration, we call in certain things or we attract certain things. And I think it was something that was just, it was drawn in by the energy in the household. But we would wake up. I mean, this little boy, he would run down the hallway. He would play with our toys. Like our toys would go missing for days. And then we would get up one morning and they'd be set up like outside the door, just like a kid had been playing with them. We'd wake up with like every door in the house open, all the windows open. So it literally, it was pretty much, no one could deny it. I mean, I had friends over and they would even see and hear. And so it was. Yeah,
it's energy, right? You said it's like attract. So your dad was quite a dark vibration. You think quite a dark soul.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he necessarily is now. He's still alive, but I think there's this. It's kind of like a rabbit hole, but there was definitely some ancestral stuff. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that idea of passing down things energetically. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, obviously it's also in our DNA as well. It's many levels, just like with the work that we do, whether that's spiritual, physical, mental, there's components to all of it.
So you can start to change that with the work you're doing in your life, right?
You can. I mean, and I've been on this really, intense healing journey for the last few years. But part of that is, I work with the shaman. We do ancestral clearing. Like, I actually had a session with her because some things came up, like this energy. I was with my daughter one night, and literally like this feeling of like she was crying, and like I was so tired. And I just had this thought, like, I just want to throw her across the room. Well, I would never hurt my daughter. Let me just say that. Like, and the thought, like, it just hit me, and I'm like, what is this? So I put her down, and I went to sleep that night, and I dreamed of my father all night long.
Really?
Woke up the next morning. When I was like 18 months, he threw me across the room.
Right.
And so I woke up the next morning with just this knowing, like, this is not mine. That wasn't mine that came through. So I reached out to a shaman that I work with, and ended up telling her the whole story, and she felt into it, and she was like, oh, this is definitely ancestral. So we went into a journey where she was able to trace it back. It was my father's mother's father's father is where this started. He was very disgruntled and angry about the way things were in the world at the time. And so he shut down to his family. And in that, he created what he hated. And so with his anger.
Wow.
And so he basically came forward in this journey and was like, you're the one we've been waiting for to break this ancestral pattern, this anger that's manifested in abuse and alcoholism and sexual abuse. It's manifested in all this way, all these many different ways throughout the generations. But you're the one we've been waiting on to come here and clear this. And so by me doing this work with her, and he also asked, my forgiveness in this. He said, will you please forgive me? And so, sorry, that's my dog. And so in that, I forgave him, and we were able to clear this out. And by me doing that, I cleared that for my children. I cleared that for my father. I cleared that for all the generations before me, for my brother. It's really very powerful, the work that can be done when you are willing to ask for help and you're willing to go in and
expand your mind a little bit.
Expand your mind.
100%. No, it's the questions that people don't want to ask, right? These are the questions people don't want to ask them because they don't want to know. And they said a lot of people, it seems a bit woo-woo, but I really would like to do some shamanic work. But these are things that it's like they're all different pieces of the puzzle, and what's right for me or for you, Jess or Erin, might necessarily be right for someone else, but something else that might resonate with them. And that's really, really powerful thing. You said you cleared it for everyone, and it takes you. All the things that led up in your life have probably come to that point, and that's why you had to get there. And so, as you said before, it's really interesting. It's a really interesting part. For a lot of people, with the shamanic work, did you do any plant medicines, or is it just?
I've done not with this particular shaman, but I've done ayahuasca like 7 times now.
And how's that been?
The most amazing, also the most terrifying experiences of my life.
Really?
Because you truly, the medicine goes into the deepest, darkest corners of your consciousness, and it pulls out all the things that need to go. And so truly in that, it's like a defrag. It's a defrag. It pulls out everything that needs to be recognized. And
did you fight it at all, or did you go with it?
Oh, I totally fought it. I fought it. There was one journey.
That's the problem, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can only fight it for so long, though. That's the thing. And in one particular journey, I was shown death. I was shown what that means, and honestly, that is the biggest ruse of all. There is no death. We just change forms. But yeah, I was shown that. I was shown that of that space of being everything and being nothing all at once. And it's terrifying, but you have no choice but to let go. And so it's a form of ego death.
Yeah.
We all need to experience.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, the thing too is with that and with plant medicines, I think the only caution I guess I would have, this is what Leanna talks about too, is, Leanna's one of the shamans that, or the, one shaman that I guess we work with. But anyway, so like the thing with plant medicine is when people go into it, it's not in a sacred, really truly like wanting to, the intention isn't there, right?
Yeah, people play around with it, right? It's dangerous, and if you go into saying you're not ready for it, you can have years and years, maybe a lifetime of trouble. This is something that honestly, I want you guys to listen. I'm going to give you a podcast to listen to afterwards. It'll blow your mind. It's really about this, and I really want to learn about this because I'd like to do this, but I'd need to get ready for something like this. I wouldn't just want to go into it blind. It would be not good.
Exactly. And I mean, I felt like the second time, it was a weekend. And so the second journey, one was on Friday and one was on Saturday. I literally felt like I was journaling before, going into it. And I mean, and you sit in the circle, you can't lay down with this particular shaman, can't lay down or anything. You're sitting there. So you're truly in control of your body too. And it was powerful, but I felt, and it was the only way I could describe it. I was like, I feel like I'm going to the cross, and that's how I felt. And because
that's terrifying for me. That's terrifying for me.
Well, it's terrifying. Well, I was like, shit, like what am I doing? Like I could still go home right now, but I knew that I was supposed to be there, and it's work. I mean, if you really want to go into it, it's work, but it's the integration afterwards. That's the biggest thing, which was my point in bringing this up is a lot of people do this because it's kind of gotten to be this maybe in thing, or, people hear about it, or they're like, oh, you'll be super enlightened if you just go do some ayahuasca, and which is not the case, and so you have to know how to integrate what you've been shown and your journey afterwards. And I think not very many people know how to do that and know what to do with that and to support themselves, because it is, like Jess was saying, I mean, it is a death. Like, I mean, I went through all of my family members, like she took me in and it was intense. Like I literally saw energy fields like separating out, and like I had to,
how long did it last?
We sat in circle about 3 p.m. I would say about 8. So about 5-6 hours.
5-6 hours. My God. That is a long time. Did it go quick though? Did it seem like it was over quick, or was it?
It did and it didn't, and the whole time it's a beautiful situation. If you're with a true shaman, they're singing the Icaros, and if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but they're this native,
they take shamanic. You on a journey.
Oh yeah, this
so
music.
Are you conscious, or are you? I mean, are your eyes open? Are you there, or are you just like?
You can close your eyes if you want, but
yeah.
No, what I mean is, it doesn't knock you out. You're there, but you're just sort of like, okay.
You're in a whole other. I mean, there's no boundaries. It's just everything's expanded, and there's nothing that's, yeah. So like with these songs that they sing, and then at the end, I don't even know how long it was. I have no idea. Time is completely irrelevant when you're in that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a made up thing, right?
It is. Yeah, and he played, and I think it was the 396. I'm pretty sure it was 396. It might have been 417, but it was the Hertz. It was 417 because that's creation, right? I think it was. Anyway, so there's this Solfeggio, whatever. You know what I'm talking about?
I know, yeah. I've interviewed Leonard Horowitz. I think it's Horowitz. I'm gonna get him back on, but it was really bad connection. You know him?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. He's another one. He goes right into it. But yeah, sorry. Continue, Erin. Sorry. It was Croatian, was it?
It was like, what was a Hertz 417 or something like that. Anyway, yeah, it was like he played that the last like part of the journey, and it's powerful. It's like these frequencies, these tones, and you just start to see like it just takes. I don't know. It's amazing. It's just really like I can't even. Words are so masculine, because they describe, and they are like.
You got to feel it. You feel it, right?
Yeah, it's like the essence of it. Like it's hard to sometimes, those experiences you just can't put words to, but you can feel it because it's the essence of it. That's like it was the journey, and that's really how it is. It's hard to describe.
I just want to say to people out there, like this is if you're going to delve into this do it professionally. Don't want anyone to go out there and just start playing around with. Don't condone any of that playing around with these things. These are things that need to be taken very seriously. But you talk about feeling it. You see anyone like. On the Parsi Islands, I go to Ibiza once a year, you see people doing different sorts of drugs, and they are feeling that stuff. They can't describe that, but they're feeling it, and that's why people just feel the love. I don't know what they're going in, but it's something that. Have you got the? Would you use the same shaman?
I've used a couple different shamans for that, but this one in particular shaman I referred Erin too, is who that's going to be my next journey.
So would you reckon they'd be up for having a chat on the podcast?
I don't know.
We've had her on ours. So you can listen. Her name is Liana.
Oh, you're talking about, I think you're talking about the shaman that's doing the journeys, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know about that. Possibly, but I don't want to go into too much detail because it's a very big thing, but he has like a world following.
Okay. No worries. We'll have a little chat offline.
Well, what I could do is I could get you on his list if you were interested in getting on when he's like traveling, and so
that sounds good to me. Yeah, be interested. I'd be saying I'd like to.
Very, very powerful, and I feel like you have to be careful. It's one of those things of like who you share your energy with.
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure they're in a good space, a very benign space, because there are dark energies out there that harvest others' energies in this way. So you just have to be really careful.
You don't want to get a dark energy attached to you, sort of thing.
Exactly. You don't want something siphoning your energy as well. So.
Got you. Okay, interesting. Yeah, no, it'd be interesting to have a chat about that. Just quickly, guys. How did you two know? Have you known each other for quite a while? Has this been a friendship or has this been together because of like the journeys you've sort of taken sort of similar times? Is it like?
No. we met actually in we both did a priestess immersion program. It was a 9-month priestess path immersion, and we met on that actually. So we were in the same group, and we just clicked and hit it off, and we realized we have very parallel lives. Like up until this point, we're like, wait, that happened to you? What? Like wild stuff.
It's so wild because it's like they're parallel, but like Erin and we are extremes, right? Like she's on one end of the extreme and I'm on the other. And so I think with us together, we find balance, if that makes sense. Like
who's yin and who's yang?
No, we're both.
I don't know. That's an interesting one. Yeah, that's hard to say. But I feel like we definitely balance each other out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's so true. It's like I'm almost like looking at a mirror, our lives. So it's very interesting.
So you said priest. So this was when you were still at the church, priestesses. Is that what you said?
No,
this is definitely
not
church.
No church.
Oh, you said priestesses. Did you not? Or what did you say?
Okay, no. So not a priest, but like a priestess. Like
what's that? So I'm being dumb.
It's so like
it's a spiritual path.
Okay.
Like we are of the lineage of like Yeshua, Mary Magdalene, and Isis.
Oh, okay.
It's a spiritual lineage, and so basically we were initiated into this lineage together.
Okay. Well, how long ago was that?
A couple years ago. Yeah, we met a couple years ago. Almost a couple years ago is when we met.
So it's gathered pace quite quickly. All this for you, it's good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So and then I was on my trip with my kids this last summer, and I've just always wanted to do a podcast or just something like that. And so I think I messaged her or called her or something. I was like, hey, do you want to do a podcast? She's like, okay. And that's kind of how it started. So
it's a good thing, right? I mean, podcast is sort of getting bigger, but it's in its infancy. So you get into it now, it's going to be good. But also, you get to have really good conversations like this with people about stuff and just try and draw things out of people, because that's the gold right there. We can talk about lots of things, and when I get guests on, like there's certain things that my audience want to hear and they want to talk about, because they're like specialists in certain areas. But just trying to like get down to the why sometimes, and like what it is really what influences them. And it's for you to, like, your stories are powerful, and it's you finding your purpose, your passion, understanding that sort of this isn't all life can be, right? It's not just numbing yourself.
More. There's so much more.
So much more. Like life truly is magical. Like it really is. And when you start to align yourself, like, I mean, my experience anyway, when I just really was dedicated, like I had some parts of my life that were great. Then over here is like, like the drinking or whatever. Mm-hmm. But, I compartmentalized. But now it's like when I look at the wholeness of my life, like there's so much magic in it. And when you just stop compromising and know your worth, it's like a whole new game, and you just start to make different decisions for yourself and for others. And, I can't truly, like, just in the last year, and I'm sure Jess could probably say the same thing, but like my life doesn't look the same at all. Like,
I was actually going to ask you, what do your older kids think about this?
They know that I'm like just goofy too, or whatever. Like, like, I've always been that mom, like, too, that like, I'll totally embarrass my kids. I'll be singing in the car, like totally like, crazy. And they're like, oh my God, Mom, seriously, or whatever, especially my boy, my 12-year-old boy, like, he's just like, no, like, so, but as far as all these changes, they're adapting as well as kids can do, to understand. But I am so grateful that I have the awareness now that I have to be able to help them process some of this better than I ever would have before. Because had I been in this, doing what I was doing before to myself, there's no way I would be able to be emotionally available to my kids, like, through this, And so yeah, but my kids are, I don't know, they're pretty open-minded about stuff though too, for the most part.
I think they're just like used to it.
They're used to it. Yeah, they're used to me.
Crazy Mom Erin. It's crazy.
Snake skin. So.
Okay. Yeah. Can I share this really quick?
Yeah, go for it.
Funny story. So I have a friend that just started an apothecary here, and she's just awesome. So I was in there visiting her a couple weeks ago, and she has all this stuff and she harvests it herself. Like, she picks everything, and she, like, everything she brings into her store, not everything, but a lot of the stuff. So she bought me some earthworms.
Oh, lovely.
These are for grounding. So I've got to crush these up, and then I'll wear these on my body somewhere, and they'll help keep me grounded because I tend to be out here somewhere.
Sorry, go ahead. So, like, this is the most unusual gift. I like texted her. I was like, "Are you home right now? I'm gonna turn this off." And so she had these earthworms. I'm like, "Oh, that's awesome! Like, I love that." And so she had snake skin too. And so I was like, "Ooh," I was like, "That's cool." Like, and she's like, "Yeah, it's for like transformation, right? Like shedding your old skin and just what a snake really represents, right?" So she was telling me all this stuff, and she's like, we used to do this thousands of years ago. Like, we'd use the environment around us, and we'd use the magical powers or what it symbolized, for to really truly, like, have transformation and alchemy, So anyway, so I started now over the last couple weeks, I burn snake skin and pine needles and frankincense.
You sound like Phoebe in Friends, when she just starts throwing all of her ex-boyfriend stuff in the bin.
No.
And starts setting it alight. I know what you mean. It's like pining a bit of this, woo, a bit of that, woo. Yeah. So it's frankincense, pine needles. What was else?
Pine needles. I did like rose petals, and snakeskin, because they all represent. There's different elements that they all represent, and so, like, then coming in the intention. So anyway, so the funny part of this is, I'm burning this one evening at my house, and my son comes in from mowing the lawn. He's 12, and he goes, he says, "Oh, what?" He could smell it, He's like, "What smells?" And my daughter, she's like, "Oh, Mom, she's burning snakeskin," and and my son's like, "Oh, like, no big deal,"
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Then she tells people at school that you smoke it.
Yeah, so then she was telling my daughter, they go to a self-directed school, and Jess's kids do too. So it's not like it's a really cool environment. But so they have this morning's meetings where they set their intention for the day and stuff. And so she asked the facilitator and her son, because they have snakes. She said, "So when you find snakeskin," she said, "wait, could I have some? Because my mom uses it." And they're like, "What does your mom use it for?" And my daughter says she smokes it. And so they're thinking I'm like smoking, like rolling my.
Yeah.
instead of just burning it, But I was like, Ireland, honey, we need to like work on what we like share with people.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, a lot of these things, they've got so much wisdom from like old tribal. People just poo-poo them like these Red Indians and all the tribes. There's so much wisdom in it. Funny thing is, around November, like my skin is generally, I mean, as you probably see, my hands, I never get sweaty palms ever. I like one of the things I don't get. I'm not a very. If I work out, I can really sweat, but I'm not someone who, as a guy, I don't just generally sweat. I'm not got sweat. My palms are always, clean. Just normal. It's not clean, but whatever you want to call it, smooth and not wet, not moist at all. Dry is the way I'm looking for. Got there in the end. Always dry. But in November, I started to take a few different ancient earth minerals, a few things, and I started to pull some serious things out of my body, like metals. And my hands literally started to shed like a snake. I never had it before. I'd done some deep cleansing before, but in November, I spoke to my spirit and she said, yeah, you're going through like a changing of like getting rid of lots of things. And literally for about a week, it started and I was just like, I could just pull chunks of skin off. Obviously your hands and your feet are like, obviously, you've got lots of pressure point, lots of things come out of hands and your feet, and it's a point where you can detoxify from quite heavily. And I was like, this is very strange, and, but obviously, I knew what I was doing, but it still felt very strange. It was very foreign to me because my hands have never been something that have ever sort of like come and skin them up. But yeah, so as you said, it is different. But especially this time of the year, it's spring. We're bringing out lots of toxins naturally. It's the time that our body the liver starts to cleanse into detox.
Good question though. Mm-hmm. Did you save your skin?
Mm-hmm. My skin, yeah. Why? What do you think I said?
When it peeled, did you save it? Did you save your skin?
Did I save it? No, I did not.
No, I was going to say you can burn it. No, I'm kidding.
Right, yeah, no, I did not save my skin. No, it was going straight in the bin. It was horrible, but yeah.
I can be like goofy after a while, so no, it's I'm totally
right. No, that's right. That's right. It's just one of those things you said. Like I completely, I know it happens. It's just weird when it manifests physically as well as spiritually and energetically, which is really really cool. So with your new one, Jess, with your 8 month, are you doing anything differently this time?
Oh, everything.
Yeah. Any vaccinations for this one?
No, she's not vaccinated. She's never even been to a doctor. I'm like, and my mom is, my mom is like, has she seen a doctor yet? I'm like, she doesn't need a doctor. She's
seeing a doctor right here. Like,
exactly. Like, I mean, what do you want me to take her in and have them tell me? Like, they're going to push vaccinations, number one. I'm like, I follow my intuition. I'm all about trusting myself in that way. And she's perfectly healthy. So
yeah, it's just funny. Yeah, it's funny even like giving. But when you gave birth this time, was it a different experience? You had home birth this time, you say?
I did. I gave birth to her right next to us, where we're sitting right now.
Was it water birth or normal birth or?
Well, I gave birth in the water. And I had a midwife. I had 2 midwives, and
I thought that was illegal.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily a rule follower, so
yeah.
That's not my.
Neither are they, apparently.
Yeah, exactly. So I had 2 midwives, a doula, and then I had a shaman who was here drumming as I pushed her out. So
nice. Was you back, front, standing?
I was actually on. Let's see. I was on my knees, and then I moved to like sit down to like actually push her out, just kind of lean back because I kept moving half my body out of the water. And so to make sure, like, once her head comes out in the water, you can't pull it out and then put it back in.
Right, okay.
So that's why I had to change positions, just to make sure that I didn't pull that head out of the water. But in case it took more than a couple pushes to get her completely out.
Yeah, got it. It's just interesting because I was just talking about people about this. I was talking to one of my friends about this the other day. We were talking because he's about to, his girlfriend's about to have a baby boy the next few weeks. And I was just saying, like, talking about giving birth, and I said, like, over here, generally people are doing. You see all these tribal women. They go in with their mum. It'd be like the woman and their mother. They go in, they give birth, and it'd be fine. I mean, they do it in the middle of the woods, you know. They keep the umbilical cord for quite a while until everything was passed, and then cut it and do whatever. And it's just very, very different experience. And there's no, like, they've made birthing over here seem, I think we talked about last time, make it seem like a very stressful process that it doesn't need to be. And having it in your home.
major.
Oh, almost a sickness too, right?
Yeah. So they're making it like terrifying. Every time you watch a movie and it happens, like they all screaming their heads off, and they've got everyone around.
No, I did scream my head off.
Yeah, but it's like it almost looks like death.
Over here.
What's that? Say that again.
The neighbors probably thought somebody was being murdered over here, but
Right.
it was it was the most intense experience of my life.
Yeah.
Hands down, it has changed me forever.
Yeah.
It was. I feel like it was truly like an initiation.
That's
So powerful.
That's a good way of
I've
thinking
never
about it.
felt stronger in my life.
Really?
So,
Well,
yeah.
that's like you guys. I think we talked about it before. You guys are wired up differently to us. We can't take that. Like 90% of men would die with the pain of childbirth. So it's one of those things. But I was just wondering because obviously you scream, but like they always want to pump people full of drugs. They make it quite a medical thing. Whereas this is much more relaxed in your home, right? With the shaman, with playing the music, it was a much more different experience.
it's beautiful. I mean, we had candle lights. Like I moved straight from the water to my couch, and then they helped me to my bed. You know, I mean, it was just so simple, so simple.
And you're breastfeeding, aren't you?
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. And that's
Probably for a long time. So
yeah, for a long time.
as long as she wants it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so healthy. Like what better way can I prepare my child for life, you know, as far as our health goes?
Yeah, people always talk about cholesterol, and I always say about it being bad for you. And I always say mother's milk is the highest cholesterol food on the planet. You know, God doesn't make mistakes, and so it's one of those things. But no, it's awesome to see that, and obviously you've gone through it, and you learn from things, and did you say you're 40, Jess?
I'll be 40 next month in June.
So this is always a question, like, because obviously people worry about giving birth when they're older and things like that. Any complications, any worries, anything like that? Was it all good?
I mean, and honestly, like I was not. I mean, if you know the Western medical model, I was high risk because of my age. Because with my son, I had a C-section.
Okay.
And so
but you were a different person then, though, right?
Completely different.
Exactly.
person.
You were stressed and probably like doing lots of things differently to what you do now, right?
Actually, I was, but I actually just trusted the system way too much.
Yeah.
Like the C-section was probably highly unnecessary, but it was something I was pushed into, and so I did it. So it's completely different now. No. Completely different.
Awesome.
But yeah.
Awesome. Well, guys, I think we'll leave it there for today. But it was awesome getting to know your stories and to get that out to people. And for anyone listening, the best place to find you guys is www.yoursacredwitness.com.
Yeah, our Facebook page, or us personally as well too.
And also be on the lookout too, because we have some really cool things that we're in the midst of planning right now. An amazing with another woman.
She lives in Germany.
She lives in Germany. Yeah. But this is her area. We're planning a retreat in the Mayan jungle and the Yucatan Peninsula for November. It's going to be like a full week of like play, inner child work, womb work, plant ceremonies. So
really?
with a shaman, we're going to do some little peyote, I think. So we're going to dive into that world. And so it's going to be really about, because the Yucatan is the womb of the world. So we're really going to dive in and do womb work and clear out that space, because that is where our creativity lies. And if that's blocked, you can't manifest the life that you came here to live.
Yeah.
Sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Is it for women? Is it a women's retreat?
This time, yes.
I'm just making sure people understand it. So I'll get it out. That'd be good. I'll put it out to people like on my list as well, because that sounds like it's awesome. Awesome, guys. So
you can, if you want to real quick, just tell about the program that we're doing.
Yeah, we're actually creating a program right now. About kind of this. It's basically inner child work, but also coupling that with womb work and exercises, because again, like this is kind of the transition I've taken with my clients as well too. Like with going back, I just led a retreat about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I remember you saying, yeah.
Yeah, and we did a lot of inner child work, and I mean the women there, they have done a lot of other work, and they said this is like the foundation of it all. I'm like, I know it is. It's incredible. So we're going to create. We're in the process actually of creating. An amazing program all about really getting, and this is for men and for women, and it's going to be online, and anyone, all over the world can be a part of it. So we're in the process of creating that right now, to help people truly unleash their creative force. I mean, we don't know how to express ourselves. And when we do, we go over the top in a completely like shadowy way, like not, and so like to really like truly. I'm moving.
That's all right. I get it. It's okay.
But yeah, so we're just we're creating this program to just really help people just really unleash that, heal those places within them so that they can truly express. We are living in a time right now where I feel like it is needed. Like we need people's voices out there to speak out and to speak up and speak their truth. Because the more people that do this, like the more people that are going to want to and are going to be inspired to do it. And so we're really excited about it, just to help people do that, because it's the stuff that we've gone through and that we continue to go through, and how much it's shifted myself, and Jess. Like we want to help other people, do the same thing. So
awesome, that's awesome. And that are your clients generally at the moment? Are they generally women, but you take men on as well?
Yeah, generally women, but I'm actually just starting to work with a man as well now. So so I'm trying to now open it up, because I know there's a lot of men who need this type of work, a lot of men, and men just don't know how to ask for help. Like it's a real like hard thing, I think, for a lot of men to say.
I say I always say 65% of my clients are probably women, 35 are men, and they generally come once when it's like, and they're at the death's door, or not death's door, but like almost there, but because it is, but. Once they start working, doing the work, they see the funny thing is, I don't know if you, but get a lot of business owners, a lot of ex-military as well, but a lot of business owners, because sort of they're into personal development, but they also, because of the lives they lead, they're not in the structure, they actually need that sort of help, which is big. But no, it's been a great conversation. If you just hold on there, Erin, I'll just give you a quick chat about the shaman stuff. But otherwise, guys, it's been a great talk to you, and I'm sure we'll have another chat at another time.
All right.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
So that was the girls from Your Sacred Witness, Jess and Erin. That was a great conversation. I can't wait to get them back on at a later date and to see how they're doing. And we covered everything there, and it's really, really powerful for you to hear their story and to hear what they've been through, because it makes it all real. It's easy. So I try to say to people, it's not about being perfect. It's about being able to go through life and face the challenges and move forward and keep on moving forward. And none of us get into this because we're having too much fun living life. We usually go through it because we've had a painful time, or we've been through an illness, etc. And whatever it is, the journey, it leads us to this path, and it's really good for people to hear their story as well, because there's gonna different people's stories resonate with different people, because others are going through similar things or a slightly different situation, but they can still resonate with what's going on, and relationships especially is something that most people can deal with, because today, they've always been hard, but today they're even harder with how quick it is and how easy it is to find someone else, etc. on an app, or just how many distractions. So it's really good to get them on the show, and I look forward to speaking to them again. As always, guys, got some great interviews coming up, and got some brilliant guests. We're also getting Jason Christoph back on. I've got Sal DiVestano from Mind Pump, the podcast, coming up. I've got lots of other brilliant guests booked in, so can't wait for them. As always, if you're dealing with a chronic issue, head over to www.reviveyourself.co, and you've got our free 4-day mini course there, which will help you get through the basics. And if you need some one-to-one help, you've been dealing with anything, from chronic fatigue, arthritis, depression, anxiety, if you're dealing with skin issues or gut issues like IBS, Crohn's or celiac disease, I mentioned diabetes, or thyroid issues, adrenal problems, whatever it may be, then you can always send me an email at ryan@reviveyourself.co, and I'll get back to you as soon as possible about how we can work together one-to-one, or you can hit me up on the website. There's a contact information there. Otherwise, guys, as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye-bye.
If you're struggling with gut issues, such as gas, bloating, constipation, diarrhea, indigestion, heartburn, and want to finally be able to eat the foods you love without the crippling after effects, then don't forget to head over to reviveyourself.co and pick up your free copy of The Healing Health Paradigm today.